Hi there, and welcome to the Creative Operations Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Groome, and in this podcast, we'll be talking with creative operations leaders in all kinds of industries, from franchising to finance, from healthcare to hospitality and beyond. We'll be looking to uncover best practices and to see trends that are coming to help you keep your creative operations on brand and on budget at the same time. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Creative Operations Podcast 2.0. I'm really excited for today's conversation because today we have not just one marketing leader in distributed marketing, but two. Marci Kleinsasser and Angelique McMillan, who are right now in the midst of a handoff of the VP marketing role for Handyman Connection. Handyman Connection is a leader in the home improvement services category with a unique brand story and a unique distributed brand community. So we're going to be talking about that today and some of the unique challenges that that community raises. So Marci and Angelique, thank you for joining us today. We're really pleased to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kevin.
Absolutely. So I wanted to start, and this one will be a little bit longer because we've got both of you guys here, but everybody in our audience loves to hear about your journey into marketing operations. You know, what was the path? And maybe, Marci, you could start for us. What took you into this end of the world?
Cool. That's a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. I actually started my journey on the agency side of the desk back in the day. And then I just got an opportunity to jump into franchising. My first opportunities was with Domino's Pizza in the Florida region. And then I worked through a variety of franchise brands, some of which you may have heard of: Domino's Pizza, Benihana restaurants. And then I worked my way into the B2B space with Coverall Cleaning Concepts, then Puro Clean, which are the property paramedics of property damage. And then I did a couple of instances outside of franchising, but it always sucked me back in because I have a passion for this industry. And I joined Handyman Connection almost going on 10 years.
That's amazing. That's a great story. And yes, those are well-known brand names. It's like a who's who. So that's great. And Angelique, how about you?
Yeah, so I started on the print side of things, slinging yellow page ads for about 9 years. And as things kind of moved away from print yellow pages and more towards the digital sector, I got into digital marketing on the agency side as well, working with franchise brands such as Glass Doctor, Mr. Appliance, Handyman Matters, and House Doctors, and really working with them to help build local marketing campaigns and programs geared towards lead generation and online visibility. I was introduced to Marci Kleinsasser and the Handyman Connection brand by one of our current partners, WebPunch, and it was a match made in heaven. I joined the team in the fall, actually almost a year ago today, in 2017. So tomorrow is my 5-year anniversary with Handyman Connection.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that. That's always nice to have an anniversary on the cusp. Well, let me start and I'll let you guys decide how to field the questions. Okay. So please feel free to both answer as we go. But I wanted to ask a question about the brand, the Handyman Connection brand, specifically. You guys have a unique selling proposition and a unique niche in a very large category that has been dominated in some ways, at least in broadcast, by big names like Angie's List, etc. I just wanted to ask a question with the franchise community. How do you guys go about getting that unique selling proposition communicated to and through your franchisees? And has that, sort of created some unique challenges along the way?
Yeah, so you actually brought up a good point, and it seems to come up quite often. I don't know if it's our name, Handyman Connection, that people kind of assimilate us to being similar to like an Angie or a Home Advisor, but we're not. We are a franchise brand. We are locally owned and operated offices owned by an individual franchisee that services the local community with over 350 different products and services to help them with anything in their home. So our goal is to be the leading home service provider for all of our customers' home improvement needs. And that's really what we focus on. And we're really working with our local owners to build buy-in and community engagement to showcase everything we can do to help better the local community, improve local households.
I love the notion of the local presence of the brand, that the franchisee's presence is really a huge part of what sets you apart and creates that unique proposition, so that, you distinguish yourselves from these folks who might, out punch your weight just in terms of broadcast TV and things like that. And in doing that, do you guys find that the franchisees really embrace themselves as their own competitive advantage? And does it, create any sort of unique challenges from a creative operations point of view?
Yeah, so our creative competitive advantage is really our brand experience. When you choose to do business with a Handyman Connection local office, you're getting, the whole experience from the second that you decide to book work with us, from all of the communication that happens from the craftsmen when they're on their way to come and see you, to when they're arriving at your house, to the follow-up with our survey asking how we were in terms of how we completed the project. Were you happy? And then that execution of continuing that communication with our customers through their life cycle to make sure that we're building customers for life, which is really our end strategy, not to get that one-time customer, but for them to think of us as their home improvement specialist. So
much more of a relationship than you would find with a home advisor, is sort of that marketplace idea, completely different. Do you guys find that I saw that you are really distributed from the Pacific Northwest all the way to the southern tip of Florida. Have you found regional challenges in trying to create that consistent customer experience across that kind of geography?
No, we actually haven't. I mean, the experience all is formulated under the premise of communication and how and when we communicate with our customers, from the last time they engaged with us through the completed cycle of the work being performed to following up with them to get them to re-engage with the brand. So that process doesn't change regardless of where you're physically located. Now, some of the services that we choose to promote within a physical location can vary, just given seasonality and time of year. And, some areas have basements, some don't have basements. So I think those are some of the challenges that the local offices have to work through. But in terms of executing on our brand experience model, which is our secret sauce and our key differentiator, there really is very, very much consistency across the board.
Oh, that's great. And so in terms of the way the service is delivered, consistency is well achieved. In terms of what you're delivering, that will vary from region to region. And so it's really a content problem that gets solved from one location to another, not so much an experience problem.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kevin, when you think about it, each of our local offices is hiring skilled craftsmen in their local market that have a subset of skills and categories that they're able to perform. So what a local owner chooses to market in terms of services, it really depends on the roster that they have at that given time and who can execute on what services. So that may ebb and flow and change throughout their life cycle as a Handyman Connection owner, depending upon who they have on their staff at any given time.
Wow, it's interesting to me that you change both geographically and you change sequentially, seasonally, perhaps. And does that create for you guys just at the headquarters sort of an additional need to supervise and review and approve creative and executions, or are they pretty much operating on their own and independently from a marketing perspective?
No, I mean, I think the beauty of franchising, Kevin, is that you get this custom turnkey marketing program, especially with Handyman Connection, where we have trusted and vetted vendor partners that work with our local offices that have proven success. So from a creative standpoint, we have very much turnkey creative for all different services, all different regions that we allow our franchisees to customize at a local level with our preferred partners. So it really helps maintain that brand consistency, but allowing them the creative freedom to promote the services that make the most sense for their local office.
So you guys are managing not just a network of franchisees, but a network of preferred partners as well. So let me turn to that leadership issue. And I'd love to hear about how you guys are handing that leadership role off, how you're in the midst of that transition. Working with all these preferred partners, are there, sort of coordination or consistency issues you have to achieve? You're both agency pros by background. So, do you often find yourself trying to create a consistent delivery mechanism with those preferred partners as well?
I think, Kevin, what for us is most important is that our partners understand our culture and how we need to execute our brand experience. And so they work very closely with Angelique and I to understand how we need to not only deliver the Handyman Connection brand experience, but also make sure that they're delivering the promise to the franchisees so that they can, most importantly, run a Handyman Connection business. As you know, franchisees come into the business to operate the model of the franchise, not necessarily to be expert marketers. So as Angelique mentioned, we provide them a turnkey marketing program and plan, and we want to make sure that our partners can be a support to that plan. So in our transition, as I'm transitioning out of this brand and Angelique is stepping up, well prepared to become the leader of the Handyman Connection marketing team. We've worked with our vendor partners to make sure that they're not missing a beat. They understand what's expected of them. And we have some great partners that we've worked with for a long time now. So we're really proud of that relationship.
That's great. So sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. I was just thinking about, in so many instances, we see those franchisees, at least in the customers that we serve a lot, an increasing desire to sort of take hold of the brand and begin to use it. And so that means a really tight partnership with those preferred vendors. I would think they are really dealing with those guys on an individual client by client basis. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we have, it just is exactly that. It's a partnership. So it's a two-way street in holding our partners accountable, but also holding our franchisees accountable in the way they partner with our vendor partners. So making sure that everyone's upholding their end of the bargain and making sure that we're really helping kind of be the middle facilitator, that each of the parties is doing their part in that partnership.
That's great. And, the final question really had to do, and I think it speaks to the importance of that preferred partner close in. The media environment has gotten really much more fragmented over the past 20 years. Yes, we've got a lot more tools, and yet it seems like none of the tools, even the most traditional ones, they haven't really gone away. They might be less of the marketing mix, but they're still there. In that environment, do your preferred partners really spend a lot of time crafting media buys for your Handyman Connection franchisees? Or is that more of is it driven more by the franchisee or by the agency in terms of how they spend dollars in these markets, which are, really easy to misspend dollars, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I would say that as a home office, we operate more as a coach to our franchisees, guiding them towards best practice and continued success based on proven forms of advertising and proven technologies that work well to help them achieve their business goals. We rely on our partners to actually execute on that end goal, of course, of generating leads and driving phone calls and form fills to the local offices. So I think, again, it stems back to that aspect of partnership of we're guiding the franchisees of when and how they should be, where and how they should be spending their money. And the partners are actually taking the lead on the execution piece from their point. And that's where having a solid partnership with your vendor partners really is important in knowing both sides of the coin.
Yeah, it certainly is. And this is just a question I would ask from my agency days. Do you find that your agencies are willing to sort of share best practices, or do they kind of keep their secret sauce sort of contained? Or is there really a best practice sharing about what's working these days and with these kinds of challenges across different agency partners?
That's a great question. I think that we've gotten really lucky with our partners in that when we ask them to bring forward thought leadership and, as you say, best practices, Kevin, they're more than willing. And I think because certainly in digital marketing, the space, as you know, is so competitive that they know they need to bring their A game every day, and they need to bring what's new and exciting and cutting edge. And as you know, Google being the 800-pound gorilla, all the algorithm changes and all of the things that are going on, they need to help educate not only us as a home office team, but our franchisees. And the franchisees need to have trust in those vendor partners and know that they're bringing that knowledge and expertise to the table, or they're going to, there's going to be mistrust, and, the data is going to show in their campaigns. So yes, they bring education and expertise, not only when we ask for it, but hopefully on a proactive basis. So we've been really lucky that our partners do that for us.
Well, and I have a feeling it's not just luck. I have a feeling it's in the way that you guys manage folks over time. And I'm going to guess that the tenure with these partner agencies is actually pretty extended. What we've seen in research, across agencies and brands has been this tenure number going down, over the decades, to the point where I think it's under 18 months. And in 18 months, it's almost impossible to build that kind of partnership you guys are talking about and that consistency, that understanding of the brand. because so many things are changing. Everybody's constantly in a learning curve. I'm guessing that you guys have good tenure with your agency partners, and the notion that they're willing to share, insights, which is sometimes a secret sauce of an agency across a network, is just, I think, a testament to trust. Right, which is the foundation on which all of these things get built. Have you guys found often that the agencies are shifting their compensation models? Is this role between the franchisee, the brand, and themselves as kind of the executor? Has compensation models been changing in the past few years for you guys, or has it remained pretty stable?
Compensation, you mean in terms of the fees that we're paying to the vendor partners?
Sure. Yeah. So in the old days, right, of course, commission was sort of a stock and trade, but it's really begun to evolve. Then we saw lots and lots of retainer relationships. Then we saw lots and lots of project relationships. And here you guys are managing relationships that extend across dozens of local clients, each one of whom I'm sure is a different kind of load for an agency account person, right? And you've done it for over the course of years. And I would think that you found a way to keep the agencies happy monetarily, but also keep them effective and focused. And I was just wondering if if you guys have seen trends in changing compensation models during that time.
Yeah, I think every brand kind of operates differently. As I mentioned, we're coaches to our franchisees. They're spending their own dollars every month with our agency partners. So their agreements are with our agency partners. And then at the brand level, we're obviously investing as well with our partners to support local advertising efforts, but at the brand level. So I think, having that direct connection to our franchisees really helps in terms of accountability and also instilling trust with our vendor partners. But, I think the fact that they know that they're actually managing a local owner's dollars and not money coming from the home office really plays a role in that partnership.
Yeah, I would bet it does. Again, there's something very human about this presence in the marketplace, which distinguishes you guys as a brand from other, approaches to the challenge. But then this very personal relationship between the franchisee and the local agency partner, that's a human thing too. So I'm starting to see a theme that's emerged here. Do you guys,
Kevin,
from a creative production point of view, because many of our customers think about creative production and spend their lives on it, do you find that the agencies offer an all-in solution, so everything soup to nuts, or do they sometimes divide it up so that you've got one group doing media and another group doing creative production, or is it all unified under one roof?
Marci,
it can go either way. In our brand at Handyman Connection, we have a brand agency, we have digital agency or agencies over the years. It's varied. So it can go both ways. We have creative assets coming from a variety of different partners. I also just wanted to weigh in on your question on compensation models. It's interesting, Angelique and I were recently talking about this. I think I've seen a trend, and again, Angelique and I were talking about how can we look at this differently as Angelique is now coming in and is going to be leading the brand and leading budgets. How can not only our brand, but just franchise brands in general really look at how they manage, whether it's their brand development fund or ad fund, and really help their franchisees grow exponentially and just think, have their funds work harder for them and smarter. So I do think agencies will need to get a bit more creative and not so maybe, looking at it in a standard way. We've, again, been able to work with our partners, our bench of partners that, again, it's a win-win. We know that they're a for-profit company. We want them to feel good about the fees that they're earning. Yep. And, but we also want to feel like we're getting a good value and that it is a long-term partnership. What you just said, Kevin, about an 18-month tenure, to me, that sounds exhausting. Yes. Exhausting for them, exhausting for us as brand leaders to have to onboard a partner every 18 months. That would just be really not manageable for certainly a team our size. Yeah. So that sounds exhausting. So I do think agencies need to be creative, but and smart about their fee structure. And I see that trend continuing. Certainly as more companies are coming into this space, I see more and more franchise devoted agencies at conferences. They seem to grow every year. More and more are getting into the dedicated space to franchising.
Yep. Well, exhausting is a good word for it. I've been in the advertising and the marketing business for a long, long time. And it was a problem in the early part of my career. And it seems to me that tenure issue has only gotten more pronounced, often because we see headcount changing, transitions happening on the client side too. And new grooms will come in and sweep. And what's so kind of inspiring about the transition you guys are making is there's continuity within this change that you guys are going through right now. And I'm sure that settles things a lot for your agency partners and your franchisees both, to know that continuity is there. So that like I said, I think you guys are swimming against an industry tide that should not be moving in that direction in the first place. Let me turn to a question a little bit more in the weeds. If we get too far in the weeds, feel free to let me know. But I wanted to talk for a moment about technology and really about assets, because you've got agencies who are creating assets, marketing assets for individual franchisees. And I'm sure that they're creating all manner of great stuff, and it's sitting with them and with their local client. But is it also sitting somewhere in a shared repository for you guys so that you can leverage and move things around as you see fit?
Absolutely. One of the things we recently created was a Handyman Connection toolbox. And in that toolbox, we have all of our creative digital assets, from any videos, stills, social posts, anything that we could possibly have from a creative aspect that's easily shareable with our new franchisees and all of our franchisees, as well as our vendor partners. As we add new partners or change partners, hopefully there's less of that. We have the ability to share this repository, as you mentioned, on an internal drive. It's one click of a button, and they have access to everything that's very easily organized and streamlined. So it's been helpful for us at making sure that they understand kind of where we are, but also where we've come from, most importantly.
The historical aspect is huge, I know. And even just, from it so much ties into what you said about keeping your agencies creative in the way they get compensated, but also happy in the way they're getting compensated. A huge part of that is not having them spinning their wheels looking for assets or, finding the thing that they're supposed to be using as opposed to something that's 6 months out of date. And so that notion of having a repository at the center where they can easily find things and easily place things. What I find fascinating about your story here is that these agencies really are creating a new relationship with you guys. It's a little bit more open-ended and a little bit more trusting, like I said, than we've seen in the past, where one agency would kind of protect its assets from anybody else being able to use them. Yeah. That trend seems to need to fall by the wayside, like these other things, in order for the long-lasting relationships to really endure. So that's neat. When you say that you've got that single push of a button kind of experience, do you guys run that? Do you have to now become the managers of that marketing technology? And is that a skill set that you guys have to have internally, or do you depend on one of your agency partners to do that?
I'd say we rely on all of our partners. Obviously, Marci and myself are the brand leaders, and the thought behind this, in conjunction with the agency that we're working with or the partner we're working with on the strategy piece. But no, we've been really good. As Marci mentioned, we're a small team. We have 2 of us that support over 60 franchisees. So we really do have to rely on our partners to help us on the creative side. I know there are a lot of brands that kind of have an in-house creative team. We don't have that luxury as of right now. So we're really kind of guiding and leading it from a directional standpoint, but they're executing again on our behalf.
Well, I have to say, guys, we've sort of overextended my time with you guys. I really appreciate the time you've taken, but I just wanted to say that you've struck a really unique balance in the network that you have created, the community that you guys serve, and the way that you, with such a small team, are able to keep all those plates spinning, and it sounds like spinning happily. So congratulations on that, and thank you for taking the time. I know that our audience is going to find this really helpful as they think about how they manage their local marketing challenges, and the insights have been much, much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.